Yes, I can see it. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Can you hear me? My microphone is on, I guess. Okay. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone for being here, for attending my session. And I would like to start by thanking Dr. Nicola Galloway for giving us this opportunity to present here on the LNet platform. So it is such a nice chance for me to present here. And also I would like to thank to Dr. Kemaloğlu because she's always such a supporter, such a big supporter. And my teammates, they are also very, very supportive for me. So it means a lot to me. Thank you. And it does not move. Yes. Okay. So I would like to introduce myself real quick. My name is Esra Kurtuldu and I am from Turkey. I live in Mersin. You can see it on the map. So it is on the south of Turkey. And I work at Tarsus University. I'm a lecturer and also the assistant director at the School of Foreign Languages. And I teach English to prep school students. So today I will talk about the potential effects of different English accents on non-native English speakers, listening comprehension, and their perceptions. You can see the table of contents here. I will start with the introduction, review of literature, and it goes on. So first of all, what is our reality? We live in a world where English is used for many purposes, for many areas, such as education, economy, politics, trade, and so on. But how did the English language spread over the world? So the spread of English, according to Crystal, he says that it started with the colonization. So the colonization period really accelerated this process because we can see here on the outer circle countries, they included in learning and using English because it happened their second language or sometimes official language. So it accelerated the growth in the number of English language speakers. And also Gödel confirms that the spread of English language has been also affected, but not just the colonial power, but also the scientific, technological, and the cultural power of the US. So these two together really accelerated the spread of English language and accelerated the growth in the number of the English speakers. By the way, the inner circle, maybe some of us, the listeners, may not know the expanding outer and inner circle, so I would like to tell it again. So the inner circle countries, as we can see, it refers to the countries using English as their mother tongue. The outer circle, as I said, the colonization period, and the countries using English as their second language or official language, such as Malaysia, India, Kenya, Pakistan, etc. And the expanding circle countries refers to the countries using English as a foreign language. So it has nothing to do with the colonization for the expanding circle countries. Leffa says that being able to speak English does not absolutely mean that it directly offers the advantages of globalization. However, if you don't know how to speak English, if you cannot speak English, it means that you are guaranteed to be excluded from the society or from the intercultural settings. So what happened? This caused the other countries to feel the urge to learn English, and also the individuals felt this same urge. So they said that, okay, if I know English, if I can speak English, it means that I can perform successfully in intercultural settings and also not to fall behind the global development. So I need to know English. They thought like this. So what happened as a result? The non-native English speakers, the number of non-native English speakers exceeded the number of native English speakers. The ratio was 3:1 in 2003, and now we are into 20 and 23, so you can imagine the number, how it got big and big. So what is ALF? If we remember the first question I asked, so there's an ALF reality, but what is it? So the spread of English, and then it became the English as a lingua franca over the world. When we say ALF, we don't mean that it's a new kind of English. No, it's not a new language. No, but it is a social reality. So we can say that it's a platform where people having different mother tongues choose English as a mutual tool for their communication, especially for intercultural settings. At that point, ALF becomes an answer for the uncertainty status of English among non-native English speakers. And ALF resulted from the demand to form a new and accepted notion that appropriately mirrors the global status and the use of English, especially by non-native speakers. So statement of the problem, we have some issues here. First of all, the ownership of English. Peterson says that if you can speak a language, it means you own that language. So for example, I'm a Turkish and I can speak English. It means that I have the same rights as a non-native speaker with the non-native speaker. So it means that if you can speak English, you can use it as if it is your own language. So you have the power, you can speak, it doesn't matter. And also the ELT materials do not meet the demand for familiarizing with ALF and different English accents, especially some books. They just present American accents or British accents, but they don't even present Australian accent or Canadian accent. They just stick with the inner circle accents, let's say. And Alptekin says that classrooms without ALF ignore both the authenticity and the status of English as a lingua franca, because this is a reality, this is a social reality. So we need to present the other accents. We need to hear in the books especially, or from the listening materials, the other people, for example, a Jamaican speaking English or a Malaysian speaking English. We need to have them in our books and in our classrooms. And these kinds of studies in the Turkish context are not the focus in literature, so I wanted to search for it. So the main purpose of this study was to investigate whether different English accents have an impact on the native English speakers' listening comprehension or not, to reveal if there is a relationship between the accent and intelligibility, and to better understand how the participants approach English accents, especially different English accents. And this study has the importance of revealing the challenges non-native English speakers experience when especially listening to unfamiliar accents. Also, the result of this study was expected to, and also still is expected to be significant in the near future in terms of adapting and renewing the teaching programs of ELT departments. And thanks to these adaptations and renewing process, we hope that we will have an equal stance for world Englishes in our classes, and also to familiarize with the non-native forms is also my goal. So I had two research questions. The first one, how is the pre-service English language teachers' L2 listening comprehension affected by different English accents? And two, how do the pre-service English language teachers approach L2 listening materials, especially with different English accents during their exposure? In the literature review, I had some studies, I faced some studies, especially investigating beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes. So the studies are given in the chronological order here. When we look at them in general, they investigated beliefs, perceptions, attitudes with questionnaires and Likert scales. And also, most of the studies were conducted with the university students. And in some studies, the participants preferred the native speaker accents, and in some studies, they just preferred non-native English speakers. So there is no generalization, we can say. And studies on listening comprehension difficulties, we had some studies. We can say that in general, the extra-linguistic factors such as intonation, speech rate, or monotonous voice, these were important. So we can say that our students, or we as participants, we need to know how to deal with these accents when we face with them, when we are interacting with these accents. For methodology part, the pragmatic paradigm was appropriate for the nature of this research because it was a paradigm that focuses on the realities, and realities could change according to a situation, according to people, or according to the research place. So it says that in the pragmatic paradigm, the idea is that realities could change, so we need to explore them, we need to investigate them in their own nature. And this study was a mixed method research, so I had quantitative and qualitative research methods at the same time in this research. And it was a sequential transformative design. I started the data collection process with the quantitative data, but then over time I changed it. Sometimes I use the qualitative, sometimes quantitative, or sometimes qualitative and quantitative data at the same time. About my participants, I used the purposive sampling. I conducted this research in the elective course titled Globalization in ELT. So it was an ELT program, and I had 38 pre-service English language teachers, all were Turkish, and 25 females and 13 males. Their average age was 20, so they were very young, and they have been learning English for at least 7 years. For data collection tools, I had, as I said, quantitative and qualitative tools together. For the quantitative tools, I had listening comprehension tests, semantic differential scales, and reflective journals. Sorry, I cannot see my own page. Yes, I had 6 tests in total because I had 6 accents. For each accent, I had a test, and each test had 5 questions, especially 2 fill in the blanks questions, 2 true/false questions, and 1 multiple choice questions. And I can say that it had 2 phases. In the first phase, I used an inner circle accent, American, one from outer circle, Pakistani, and one from expanding circle, Hungarian. So these were randomly selected for the first phase. And for the second phase, again, one from inner, outer, and expanding circle. I chose Australian, Malaysian, and Mexican accents. Semantic differential scales had 17 items with 5 options. So you can see, for example, this is an example for you to check it. They had some options such as not at all, slightly, moderately, somewhat, or very. And they had the items, for example, sympathetic, not at all sympathetic, or very sympathetic. not at all energetic, or very energetic, something like that. So each time when they listen to the accent, they need to choose the one that they thought according to the accent. And for the reflective journals, again, for each accent, I gave them reflective journals, and I just gave them 4 general titles. For example, the topic of the listening script, what do you think of it? Did you understand it? Was it easy for you? What about comprehensibility? Was this accent comprehensible or not? Problems. If you had any problems, what kind of problems did you have? And how did you overcome? Or maybe you didn't overcome. Why? I just wanted them to tell me. And at the end, their overall opinion. What about the accent, title, etc.? What do you think? And for the data, I analyzed that with the grounded theory and the open coding methods, and the spelling mistakes, subject verb agreement, and punctuation mistakes were also amended by me and by the other researchers to make it sure that there are no grammar mistakes while presenting the data. What about the findings? So for the listening comprehension tests, the accents they were most successful was given in order. For example, the first one was Hungarian. When I checked the reflective papers, they said that because it was like a Turkish English accent, so it was very familiar for them. And for the next one, it was American because they said that I heard this accent quite a lot, so it is easy for me to understand. And the next one, Australian, because also again it was a native accent and it was clear for them. And the accents that they were the least successful happened to be Pakistani, Malaysian, and Mexican. So we can see that the first 2 are outer circle accents, but the next one, I mean the third one, is expanding circle accent. And yes, the question type that they were the most successful, the first one was multiple choice, which means that they were able to understand the general idea of the listening test. The second one was true false, again about the general idea. It was okay for them, it was easy for them to understand. But fill in the blanks test, because you need more elaboration in these kinds of questions. You need to understand what is said, and also you need to remember the word, how to write it, the spelling. So it needs more elaboration, and it was more difficult for them. For the semantic differential scales, for Pakistani accents, overall they said that it was not at all clear. For a Mexican accent, they said that it was slightly clear. Sorry, but I cannot see the page. Maybe it's my mistake. Not slightly clear. For the Australian accent, they said that it was slightly clear. Australian, moderately clear. Hungarian, somewhat clear. And it goes on. For example, for Pakistani also, they said that it is not at all familiar for them. They have never heard such an accent before. They also said that, was this English? No, I had really difficult to understand. I had a really difficulty in understanding it. What about familiarity? About Malaysian accent, they said moderately familiar, but there were so many pronunciation mistakes. They said that. For American, very fluent. For Australian, very fluent again. And for Hungarian, they said that it was somewhat fluent. I'm sorry. And so for the semantic differential scales, we can say that speech rate, tone of voice, intonation, and stress are important points, and they were also mentioned in the reflective journals as well. So for the reflective papers, the most characteristic of any accent is intelligibility, whether it's native or non-native. It doesn't matter. So you need to be intelligible. And intelligibility is not just about accent. If you speak fast, it is also a problem for them, as you can see, for non-native speakers especially. And they had positive attitude towards their local accent, Turkish English accent. When I asked them their overall opinion, they said that, okay, I'm a non-native speaker, but my Turkish English accent is good for me. They said it. And for the reflective papers, I chose some examples to show you. For example, for the American accent, they said that intelligible. He was speaking too fast, so it was not intelligible. So for the intelligibility team, they said that it's not intelligible because he's speaking too fast. So it is again problematic. For Australian accent, the related team is speech rates, and he speaks too fast this time. Too fast part is my related part. And for Pakistani accent, they said about fluency, her speech was bad because she was not speaking fluently and clearly. And Malaysian, they said that there was no stress, no intonation, so it didn't change. I didn't like it, so they found it monotone. And for Hungarian accent, they said that I liked it. The accent was nice and clear, so it was intelligible for them. For Mexican, they said that the accent is not familiar to me, and that's why I hardly understood it. And my study becomes different from the other studies in this part, in this team, because the feeling of incompetence. So one of the participants said that I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand. So it made me feel unsuccessful. So we can understand that when we don't understand the accent, when it is not familiar to us, we don't understand, and we find ourselves unsuccessful with that accent. So we say that, oh, maybe I don't know English, or maybe this accent is not familiar, maybe it's my problem. So you keep questioning yourself, what did I do right or wrong? Maybe it is kind of this. So the feeling of incompetence is different from the other studies, we can say. And the discussion part, I can say that my study was similar to the studies by these researchers, and different from the other the studies here in the right part. My studies were similar to these studies because also my participants tend to express somehow their priority for native speaker forms sometimes, and sometimes they enjoyed their local Turkish English accent, and also they recognized the importance of other varieties, but they said that we are not familiar with this accent. So different from these studies, how? In what way? Because they show a great sympathy for non-native forms somehow again, and they show some negative approach for non-native speaker forms, especially not all of them, but a few students. So in conclusion, we can say that comprehension in general, the American English and Australian English, they understood it, and also the Hungarian accent. But when it comes to word Englishes in general, they don't understand. So it is a problematic, I guess. We need to present more accents, more different accents in classrooms. And they had low success in fill in the blanks questions. As I explained, it needs more elaboration. You need to understand the main idea, and then you need to remember the word. You need to know how to write it. Maybe you understand the word, but you don't know how to write it, so you cannot write. You cannot fill in the blanks, so it was more difficult for them. And they had no bias towards non-native speaker forms, we can say, because there is no significant difference in their ratings, especially scales. And mispronunciation, incorrect stress, and fast speech causes unintelligibility. And extra linguistic factors are crucial. For example, mispronunciation, incorrect stress, or fast speech, or tone of voice, etc. They are important. So about implications, ALF and Word English should be implemented in pre-service teacher education programs, and also textbooks should have them in their books. So instructors should introduce ALF and Word Englishes into their lessons. We need to introduce them to our students to make them aware of there are many different kinds of accents. So you are not able to, maybe you're not able to talk to just British or American, but also there are other people who use English around the world. And when they realize the existence of competent non-native English speakers, maybe it can be a role model for them. And as I said, the originality of the present study comes from the theme that the feeling of incompetence. Why is this theme is important? Because this theme underlines the significance of familiarity and also shows the effect of unfamiliarity with any accent and its negative impact on the listeners. And interaction with ALF varieties is a must for enhancing intelligibility, as Leyland said. It's not an option, but it's a must. So both non-native speakers and native speakers should pay attention to their speaking if they want to be an effective speaker, or if they want to have an effective communication. In terms of speech rate, tone of voice, intonation, and stress are very crucial. So suggestions, what can be done in the future? Maybe we can have some longitudinal studies to explore more. Maybe we can have comparative studies, and also the listening comprehension strategies, maybe, especially the non-native speakers. What kind of strategies do they use, or do they use any? I'm sure today, but what kind of? And listening comprehension and word English should be much more explored by these studies. And these are my references. If you want to read the full article, here is the link. I'm going to share it with you. And thank you for your precious time. This is all.
Right. Thank you so much, Esra.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting presentation, and actually a very good introduction to global Englishes for people who are not familiar with it. But again, this is where we our audience, if anybody has questions, you can raise your hands or write in the chat, and we will ask questions to Esra. Before anybody does any of that, I just wanted to thank you again. And I had a question actually about, quite rightly you noticed that there were some other factors other than pronunciation that affected the understanding of the participants. And you mentioned stress, right? And what I want to understand, it was any type of stress, because it's like there is the word stress, like where you put the stress on a particular word, but there's also the sentence stress. So
the word stress, it is more important.
All right, I see. Thank you for clarifying. And the other thing that I wanted to ask, I forgot what page it was though. I forgot what page it was. It was towards the beginning. There was something I wanted to comment upon. This one. the next slide, where you presented, this one, where you talked about the feeling of incompetence. This is not really a question, just a comment. I was really happy to see that you included something like this in your research, because quite rightly, as you showed in the beginning, most of global English is framed through a sociolinguistic optic, but I do believe that we need more exploration in the psycholinguistic dimension, as you show here, which is something that I'm also realizing in my own study, because you know, quite rightly, there's a lot of studies that suggest, oh, this is what we should be doing, this is what teachers should consider. But sometimes, you know, I've met people who really wanted to implement this paradigm in their teaching. They wanted to follow the suggestions, but they told me things like, I'm not sure whether I can do this. You know, I want to do this, but I don't feel like I know enough to teach. And what I got in my teacher preparation course just was not enough.
Yeah, I think this is very different, and I have never thought about it until I found it in the findings part. So when you don't understand, it basically makes you feel unsuccessful. You know English, but you cannot understand, so you start questioning yourself. So it is important. You need to get to know the other accents, and you need to be able to interact with them, and then you can just hinder this, I think.
Right. Thank you so much also again
Thank you.
for looking into this dimension as well. We have a question from Letizia. Yes.
Okay.
Hello, I'll switch on my camera so you can see me. Hello. Thank you so much, first of all, for your presentation. That was really engaging, a lot of food for thought. So thanks. I have a question regarding your semantic skills, because I may have missed it, so I apologize in advance if that's the case, but I was wondering if you could clarify or expand on how you selected the labels, the adjectives that you used in those, in that scale.
Actually, I just adapted from a study, Ahmed et al. I don't know, maybe I forgot to call it. So they used this scale, so I just changed a few adjectives. Maybe I said that, for example, they used intelligible, not at all intelligible. So I thought that maybe they don't know the word intelligible, so I need to use understandable. So I just changed the words.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question, Letizia. Maybe Ezra, you can show us it's on your reference list, these studies that you used?
Yes, sure.
This one. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. Right. Anybody has any questions and or comments for our presenter? We do have a hand from Giorgio. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello,
yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you. You said before that, as Paolo also said, there are different aspects that influence listeners' attitudes, such as speech rate, fluency, tone or stress. Maybe I missed it, but did you have kind of a pre-test or a beta test in order to check whether there was any consistency in the different recordings for these aspects?
Yes, a year ago, before I start doing implementing my research, I had a mini test, and it was the same. I mean, the case was the same. So not just the accent, but also speech rate, intonation, your tone of voice, how you use the word stress. It was also important for them before, the pretest. And also here, again, we found out that it's not just the accent, but also the extra linguistic factors. I had the pre-test.
And when you did this test, did the results show any pattern between different varieties? I mean, for example, the two expanding circle varieties you chose, they scored kind of the same in those dimensions.
Yes, generally they have the difficulty in outer circle accent because they said that their accent is strong. So they use it in their daily lives, English. So they kind of mix the English they use with their own language. So it's Indian with English. So it is mixed. So maybe that's why it is very difficult for them to understand outer circle English. But for the expanding circle, they feel more confident because they say that, okay, it's English, but with a different accent, but you can understand that it is English. But for the outer circle, they said, is this English? I don't know. What kind of English? So they mix their English with their own language because they use it in their daily lives. I think that's why.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Giorgio, for the question. All right. Anybody else? We still have some time in case you'd like to ask anything else. Yeah, we have a question from Claudia.
Yes. Okay. So not a question actually, but remark, a piece of information. I wanted you to expand a bit more about this project that Paolo introduced at the beginning, to tell you, Esra, that in addition to investigating the attitudes and perceptions of the various accents of English, and we will investigating the various Englishes for the inner circle, expanding circle, and so on. We will also be investigating the textbooks used by in secondary schools for the teaching of English, to see whether to what extent the concept and the reality of English as a lingua franca is indeed represented and reflected in those textbooks, because our perception is that textbooks don't offer these materials. Actually, they rather focus more on this very strict monolingual approach, either British English or American English, and that's it. We don't probably not many examples also of other native English, such as New Zealand or Australia. And okay, so just for you to know a little bit more, thank you very much for your presentation, which is really nice, and a lot of I made a lot of notes, so we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Sure. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. And all right, so
may
again,
I ask a question?
Oh, of course, Elif.
Congratulations, Esra. It was really an inspiring presentation. You have done a very good study.
Thank you.
Indeed, what is your intake from this study as a researcher, as a teacher researcher? What did you really think about when you saw the results? This is a personal question.
Okay. After this study, I started teaching at a university, and I mean, each class, I'm saying that, okay, you are Turkish and you use English, and there are other people who use English. So you are not going to talk to or interact with just natives. So you need to know non-native accents. So I always try to focus on the reality, and I try to realize their power as a non-native English speaker. And also when I give them some tasks, some homeworks to do, I try to add some native accents, not just British, American, also Australian, New Zealand, or Scottish, but also the word English. So I try to present both of them at the same time. I think this is my intake.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, hocam.
Thank you, Elif. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank everybody for attending the seminar. Again, as I said before, we are taking a break in December. We will have our next seminar on the 11th of January, so keep an eye on that one. All right. I will actually stop the recording right now, but thank you again, Esra, for everything that you've done today.